The inspiration for this piece came one day when I went out front and it had gone to fall and the pods on the bush were just there asking for me to change them into silver. So I picked a few, went in and I did a few test pieces. And can you believe this is the result of what transformed from that pod? I can't wait to share this with you. To start, we're going to open the paste type clay, take the paintbrush, and just start painting. It's a really fun meditative process. We're just going to take our time, go around the pod, getting on a nice layer, not too thick. You want to go around, get in all the crevices, get everything so it's covered, all the layers, inside, outside, get it till it's completely covered. Let it dry, and then repeat. So we do this 7 times. Takes a little bit of patience, but we'll get there. Do that 7 times, and then let it dry till it's fully dry. Once it is fully dry, we're going to roll out a lump of clay to a rope. This is when you really want to take advantage of the properties of the 650 slow dry clay, because as you're rolling and working the clay, it does want to dry. That's what it's supposed to do. But you want it to do it a little more slowly so you have some time. So I'm just taking what I would call a rolling rectangle. It's a nice long piece of acrylic, and I'm going to be putting gentle pressure down onto the rope as it starts to form. And then as it gets a little bit longer and a little bit thinner, I want to start tapering it. So I'm going to put a little downward pressure on one edge. I mean, you can see how it's starting to get a little longer and get a little thinner on one end. I want to keep one end a little thicker because that's what's going to attach to my pod. And I want that connection to be nice and secure. And once I have my rope rolled out, I'm going to paint a little bit of clay onto that end. And when I picked these pods, I made sure they had an end. Some of them are longer, some of them were shorter. Just work with whatever you have. Get that so it's wet, so the connection between the two will work. I'm going to just insert that end into the rope. And then here's really where you can go as creative as you want. I then just kind of swirled it around and created the beginning of the bail. And you can curve it, twirl it, however you want to shape it. As long as you have something that'll make a nice connection for later, be as creative as you'd like. Once that's completed, let it dry, and then it's time to clean it up. Again, this is my favorite part of the process. It is really, you just get in there and you take your time and you just clean everything up. And what I like to make sure you do is refine those points. Because the pod has points, I want to make sure that you go in there and just refine them so they're smooth and not sharp. You don't want them to be sharp. Go in there, kind of get them a little bit more smooth than they are, because with the layers of the paint, it does build up and they get kind of pointy. Get that cleaned up. And then we're going to fire it in the kiln. You put this in the kiln, let it cool down to room temperature, and then take it out. Once you take it out, we're going to do another rope. So take another piece of clay, and we're going to do another rope. And this will be what we'll attach our second pod to. So again, we're just going to roll out a rope. And again, leaving one end a little thicker than the other, so you have a place to insert it. And paint that end again. This just helps the connection between the two be a little easier, so it doesn't force itself away. Wet to dry is always a little tricky. So we're going to insert the pod into the rope and then just wrap it around. And again, you can do this however you want. As long as the rope is willing to cooperate with you and doesn't start to dry, you really have a lot of time to just kind of play and just make it very graceful and decorative and make it your own. And at this time, if you weren't able to get a bail out of the rope from earlier, you want to make sure you have a secure bail for when you want to hang the pendant later. On this pendant, I already have a loop that'll work as my bail later. Once the piece is dry, we'll refine it. I'll use the polishing papers, your sandpaper, working from the lower grits to the higher grits. And then just making sure we get those points. Again, don't forget to wear down those points just a little bit so they're nice and smooth and not sharp. One thing I do want to point out on this piece, as they all come out differently, the rope was able to be wrapped around a few times, and then I coiled it up the back side, and then I created the bail using that rope. So it really just depends on how cooperative your rope is and how you feel you want to finish your piece and how you add that bail so that you do have a place to hang it from later. And once we refine that and get it as clean as we'd like, we put that back in the kiln, let it fire, and let it cool back down to room temperature. Once it's to room temperature, it's time to bring out that shine. So we'll take our brush, and we're just going to go across the surface of the pods, around the vines, and just bring out that shine. Again, the brush will do a satin finish. The burnisher will then bring out those highlights. Bring out some of that nice, bright, shiny metal from all of your hard work and all the refining that you did before you fired. And then for a final finish, use the jeweler's paste. That'll bring up that shine. Once you're finished, you can add your design to a cord, cable, incorporate it into any beaded design of your choice. The amazing part about this whole project is this pod turned into this amazing silver creation. Fine silver, beautiful piece of jewelry. In addition to the pod, you can use cereal, cork clay, and in that round bead, it's a cranberry, believe it or not. And the cranberry is still in there. Until you fire it, that cranberry is still in there. Decorate that round bead, fire it up, and put it on a cord, incorporate it into all of your beaded designs. The possibilities are endless. Just go have fun.